I played against him with Clive Rice. Clive Rice was captain of Nottinghamshire in 1987. Richard Hadlee was just finishing his last season for Notts, and on a fairly cold April, end of April, I think it was the second game we played against Notts. The man himself, he was probably the Rolls Royce of fast bowlers at that stage. The New Zealand Rolls Royce of fast bowlers. I mean, it's 400 Test wickets, and just cleaned us up quietly. You know, took I think 10 or 11 in the match. And I toured New Zealand in '94, and I bought this video of Hadlee that he talked about just his overall thinking about bowling and how he paid a lot of attention to the way he trained. And he studied his own batsmen very well. He made sure that every net practice he was at, that he tried to put himself in a test match environment all the time to try and outthink his own opponents, his own batsmen. Is similar. So he's simulating test match intensity, it was a great, England toured New Zealand, and New Zealand turned them over, and it's just simply they never respected New Zealand enough. But Hadlee was unbelievable in that series. It was also a series where he was criticised then for shortening his run-up, and it's what county cricket did to him by shortening his run-up. Hadlee was brisk pace, but he had such good control over the ball. Was quickly to say that he had to be close around the batsman to study how a batsman moved, to see if they were predominantly good back foot players or front foot players, how they left the ball. Told himself about how if the batsman was a good back foot player or front foot player. And cheapers, and I thought, well, I never thought of that. It's for a young guy, we're thinking, wow, that's homework that you've never done before. I mean, how do you do homework? Now we get all these video material, and we get bored of it sometimes. But he quickly figured that out. And Hadlee he was a nasty piece of work in his time. He was well known for having a chat. But also he knew when to pick on his victims and how to pick on them. But wow, he was smart. He was really, really smart. And I think that if I look at McGrath and I look at Hadlee, they're very similar. Very similar in how they were close to the stumps. They were very over the top. Used their wrist real smart. Just little tweaks. But Hadlee was never, he was the man. He was the go-to man for New Zealand cricket in those days. He made it happen for them, and he swung it. I mean, he swung it both ways. But he was also he had a cocky, mean streak about him. There's some great footages of him hitting guys on the head, and the 8-for that he took in Brisbane. That was just phenomenal bowling. But yeah, I mean, that's a lot of people say, why Richard Hadlee? It's not all about quicks. It's not all about the real out and out quicks. He was bowled a heavy ball, but also he was intimidating because he was so smart about where assessing conditions, outthinking their opponents, and knew when to pounce on people. It's fantastic picking his brains. But in here, I think that's more I learned from him than anybody else. It's how he outthought people and what to look out for that puts him in the bracket that I did.